What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video. Are we bringing back the whiteboard in 2022? Has it been a decade? Yes, it has. Here's the whiteboard. We know if someone has a whiteboard on YouTube, it means they must know what they're talking about. Today, talking about the dangers of being shredded, in particular, year-round. I have to give the biggest shout out to the hunk himself, my partner in crime, Eric Helms, who had a fantastic article on this on MASS, monthly applications in strength sports, which I'll link down below. But essentially, you might be wondering to yourself, Omar, I see these fitness influencers online on the TikTok twerking, and it seems like they're able to sustain a very low level of body fat year round. What's going on? First off, maybe there's super physiological doses of something, if you understand what I'm saying. Two, they might still be suffering in silence, which is sad,
I see it day by day. You sure you do not suffer needlessly?
from something known as low energy availability, which we'll talk about, okay? And then three, we also have to examine the possibility that indeed they might be genetic outliers. So what works for them won't necessarily work for a wide selection of the population. For everyone watching this video, I think you probably visualize your body in your head a certain way, ultimately like an idealized version of your physique, and it's probably lower than what is sustainable. We'll talk in particular about being shredded, so I define that as definitely being below 10% body fat, actual 10% body fat, not like snap the photo on the gram, put the structure of the lighting on, you're like, oh, I'm 10% body fat, and you're 15% body fat. Not like that. I mean like below 10% body fat for sure. Usually it's competitors, people that plan on competing, but people can get shredded without preparing for a show. And a lot of the problems we're going to talk about today happen far before you even get shredded. And that's the real problem. That's the sad boy moment right here. You try and diet down, you try and look good, you don't get shredded, but you're dealing with all the consequences. You're dealing with the down regulation of your metabolic hormones. You're dealing with, satiety signals being all over the place. Why does that occur and how can we prevent that while maintaining a healthy body fat level? This is the video for you. Okay, so first off, what we have to establish is something known as the dual intervention model, which essentially is talking about these boundaries right here. So on this line, on this axis right here, we have body weight or fatness, and down here it's time. And what you'll tend to notice, there's an upper bound, okay? You can get so thick that there's a physiological boundary that your body will start sending signals to you like, hey, slow down. Satiety signals, let's take care of it. You're actually not that hungry. That is not what we're talking about right there. Shout out to the Fat Boy Squad. What we're talking about instead is down here, the physiological boundary that will occur for every single person. It's the lower intervention point, where essentially, once again, your body will start sending signals down for you to gain weight back because it thinks to yourself, wow, this is way too lean. We have to fix this somehow. And that's once again where you get things like the satiety signals, the down regulations of certain hormones. And this is where it gets dangerous. This is the kill zone right here. Because once someone enters here, it's not just simply going back to maintenance. Like, oh, I dipped to 6% body fat. Well, let me just eat a maintenance for 2 weeks. Your body doesn't work like that. There's a delayed effect, and it could take weeks or months in order to rectify. And what's worse, you kind of don't know when it's going to occur. It's not this firm line. Oh, 7% body fat, feeling amazing. 6.5, I feel like death. It's a slow gradient, but nonetheless, what we all have to agree upon is that there's likely this physiological point. In between these boundaries, environmental factors are the largest factors at play. But down here, there's a certain level, and again, this is what's unique, and I spoke about genetic outliers or genetics being a factor here. Everyone's different. For someone, it could be 6%. For another person, it could be 8%. For another person, once again, 4.5%. We're all jealous of you. And this is the problem because first we can establish this, that likely there will be that point. Most people watching this video, will you enter that? Not necessarily, but in pursuit of getting super yucky and jacked, what can happen, chronic low energy availability, which will mimic some of the very similar symptoms. So you're trying to get shredded. You're not here at this physiological point where your body's like, oh, we're getting all over the place, but you're experiencing similar symptoms. So you're not shredded, but you're dealing with some of the consequences. Not fun. Not the exact consequences, but we're in the ballpark. Okay. How do we calculate this? Well, it's simple. It's total energy intake minus exercise expenditure divided by lean body mass. And here's the scary part, potentially, especially with people that chronically diet and they want to get lean and they're not, and this is a goal for them that maybe they want to be habitually lean. But what tends to occur for people that diet for a long period of time, there's a gradual reduction in calories. And so if this is a formula here, and again, it's unique for every single person, likely if you've been dieting for an extended period of time, if you've been consuming very few calories, so there's chronically low energy availability, you can enter this zone where you're dealing with some of these consequences. And that's a problem. And what are some of the markers of that? There's many different ones. Like we said, the downregulation of certain metabolic hormones. But another one that you can observe, it's not a one-to-one. It doesn't mean that if your performance is shit, if your performance tanks, that automatically you have low energy availability. But if your performance is tanking in the gym, that's certainly not a good sign. And especially for those of us that like to do a little bit of power building, we want to get jacked and we also want to get strong. Low energy availability is something that you want to avoid. And I would posit that for many people, their level of leanness that they aspire towards is probably something that is definitely not sustainable year round, at least in the immediate, but also is not a theoretical point they should even try and approach. Here's exactly what I mean. What if I was to tell you, okay, what's your goal? You want to lose 20 pounds of weight. Fantastic, man. What are you, 18% body fat? You want to get down 10%? I think that is excellent. Now, there is a certain level where things will start to get more difficult. What if instead you only got halfway there? So instead of getting to 10% body fat, you got to like 13 or 14%, something that's far more manageable, sustainable. And then you evaluate how you feel and you see if you can hold on to that for maybe 6 months, 8 months, and then you go from there. You're not constantly dieting down. You see, what we want to instill, I personally believe in a lot of people, is competence. So the ability that you can do this, you can do difficult things. And then from competence, it would also lead to greater adherence because now you're not dancing dangerously down here. You're not trying to tank all the way down and you're entering this zone, this danger zone, where it's going to take months to figure out. And again, this is the problem. That's why we talked about yo-yo dieting and people that do like contest prep and so forth, is that you can get so lean, as I said before, it takes months to rectify. But even after that, your initial body weight, let's say you started at 200 pounds, you got shredded down to 160 pounds, you could blow all the way back up. And so you spend all this time trying to get to a certain level of leanness and you're dealing with all these disastrous, deleterious consequences of just trying to get lean. Ish, don't think so. So I think for most people, we want to try and instill competence. We want to try and foster an environment that's conducive for success. So we talk about the obesogenic environment, the modern food environment, not really great. And that's why working out with like-minded individuals, controlling a lot of those variables, and we can make another video on that. But environment being very important, but also instilling that competence. And so I'd say for most people, you always want to try and aim for a manageable, sustainable goal. And likely that is tethered to your own specific needs and your genetics as opposed to what you see on the gram. And that's why I say the dangers of trying to get shredded is honestly what I should have titled this, because in the pursuit thereof, you lose a lot of different things. So potentially the performance tanking, dealing with some of those satiety signals over time, developing something that could be even more serious than that. It's just not worth it. And we take a look at the long game when it comes to getting in shape, right? So you don't want to follow that person that looks great all the time, because again, you don't even know if they're suffering from this. And that's why I've seen, I've been in this now industry for over a decade. I've observed people. I've seen people get lean, stay lean for maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 years, but then they maybe develop a food focus or some other things that occur, and then they bounce out of that, and we don't see the graveyard of people that no longer adhere to being at a lower body fat percentage. And so what I want to try and tell you, I know it's not the sexy message, is that you want to try and be sustainable, and that's what we're after. So I would say for most people, pay attention to your performance. If it starts tanking, that's very notable. You should be concerned with that. And when it comes time to try and lose weight, try and lose weight that's manageable. So whatever your goal is, if you start feeling really, really poor signals, so you're starting to feel some of those consequences, dial it back a little bit. See if you can maintain that new weight, because there's no shame in losing 5, 10, 8 pounds, holding on to that for a year, and then reassessing your goals. All too often, we try and rush towards the finish line, not knowing it's going to cause us inevitably to fail along the way. That's all I really wanted to talk about, because once again, this being back, seeing the TikTok and the other things, the Instagram, the YouTubes, all those good things, I see some unrealistic expectations. We want to explain why it doesn't make sense for most natural athletes to try and pursue being shredded, definitely not year round, and why even the pursuit thereof, if you don't get to being shredded, how it could be potentially disastrous. Be smart, get to your goals over a long period of time, and you will be far happier. Anyways, that's all we want to talk about. The whiteboard is back. Let me know in the comment section down below what you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like the damn video, and I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace!
Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.